I solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
That's quite a promise those young men and women make when they join the United States military. They honor that promise when they head out for basic training, attend the additional training to develop the knowledge and skills needed to fulfill that promise, and make the choice to call any one of our nation's 761 military bases around the world home. They honor that promise when, as civilians, they leave their homes for weekend drills, stand at the ready for their nation's defense, and leave established jobs and homes when their nation calls, not knowing if those jobs and homes will be there when they return. They honor that promise when they deploy overseas, leaving their loved ones behind, and face the enemy that threatens our freedom and the freedoms of a vulnerable world. They honor that promise when they return home, some to loving and waiting families that have grown or changed in their absence, some to continue fighting as they learn to walk again, adjust to prosthetic limbs, or adapt to a life without the limbs they took for granted before their deployment, or battle the very real struggles of PTSD, or find themselves homeless. And far, far too many honor that promise when they make the ultimate sacrifice, coming home in a casket draped by a U.S. flag, or leaving a family to try to comprehend what the letters POW and MIA could possibly mean. And because they honored that promise they made when they enlisted to serve our country, we honor them through our membership and service in the American Legion Auxiliary. Although it's a sacrifice I can never fully understand, and a debt I can certainly never repay, I joined the American Legion Auxiliary 29 years ago to attempt to give back to those who have given us so much. And a year ago, when I was elected to serve as your national president, I made a pledge of service once again to honor their service. Honoring their service, it's why I joined the American Legion Auxiliary, and why you did too. So choosing that as my national president's theme seemed like the natural thing to do. And with so much going on this year and so many places to be, I thought those 3 words would help center me, keep me focused on what our mission is all about, and remind me at the end of many long days ahead that although I may be tired, I was honoring their service, and that's the least I could do. I hoped you would all accept my theme, but I had no idea how much you would embrace it, and I thank you for that. Throughout my travels this year, I was thrilled to walk into training sessions, American Legion Auxiliary Girls State Assemblies, and unit meetings to see auxiliary members proudly wearing their Honor Their Service buttons, displaying a veteran who made them eligible for membership close to their hearts. I enjoyed hearing the stories of your fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, and grandparents who made you eligible for the American Legion Auxiliary membership. It seemed every time I heard someone talking about a loved one on their button, there were 2 or 3 other members standing nearby, nodding their heads as though they understood you and that connection that binds us all. You could almost see a tangible recommitment to the auxiliary and a renewed appreciation for our fellow auxiliary members with each and every story shared. I think that's important for 2 reasons. It's a visual reminder of why we all join the auxiliary, the common bond we share. Secondly, it's a powerful way to share the importance of our mission with those outside our organization. How many women must there be out there who have similar stories of loved ones and patriotism who don't yet belong to our organization? We need to hear their stories and let them know how they can continue to honor the service of their loved ones by becoming a member of the American Legion Auxiliary. We also need to share our stories with our legislators and local media so they can honor their service too, with laws that protect our veterans' rights and media coverage that is honorable and respectful. As the result of one of the pod projects, many units took the honor theme further by creating honor walls to display images of their veterans at local posts. I love this idea. It's hard to forget why you're there with the eyes of your loved ones staring back at you, our faces of freedom. The honor walls seem to make each post I visited feel like home. I know my home is filled with photos of the people who mean the most to me. my family. And family is a word that came to mind often this past year. There are many types of families. Ultimately, we are all one family serving under God, brothers and sisters with one Heavenly Father who guides this organization and the work we do. There's my own family who made many sacrifices this year, living without me, supporting me, and embracing the service I was giving as I represented our members and our organization. The American Legion family, the American Legion Auxiliary, the American Legion, the Sons of the American Legion, and the American Legion Riders all make up this very special family of ours. And while they might not be the folks we come home to at night, they are truly family, connected by the blood and sacrifices of our relatives who gave so much so that we can all be here today. Then, there are the military families. Many of those families are missing a mother, father, brother, or sister at home because they are serving overseas. And when a soldier is activated and deployed, it is our duty to be there and meet the needs of the family left at home, the unsung heroes of this war. And there's our American Legion Auxiliary National Headquarters family, who often reminds me of what family is all about. Growing up, we often don't always appreciate our family like we should. We sometimes take things for granted. And yet, when we stumble or are in need, they are always there for us. That's why I created 2 awards this year to recognize the efforts of our National Headquarters family, the Mission Mover and Shining Star Awards. The service opportunities made available to all Legion family members proved once again that working together as a family is always win-win, whereby we each receive much more than we give. Less than a month after my installation as National President, I began to learn more about our Legion family and about honoring the service of our veterans, active duty military, and fallen heroes. I was honored to serve alongside American Legion National Commander Fang Wong, who volunteered for the U.S. Army in 1969, served more than 2 years in Vietnam, and retired from the Army as Chief Warrant Officer, and SAL National Commander Jim Roberts, who embodies Legion family. He's been an SAL member for 35 years, is married to Anita, an auxiliary member, and has 2 teenage daughters in the Auxiliary Junior Unit in Pine Castle, Florida. Commander Wong and his wife Barbara have both been very active in the Legion family since the 1970s. They were both instrumental in directing relief efforts after 9/11 through their posts in Chinatown. One of my first official visits was to the World Trade Center Museum in New York City, where missing person signs and mementos line the walls. Nancy Brown Park and I laid a wreath to commemorate the 10th anniversary of 9/11. On this visit, I met 9/11 survivors, family members of the fallen, and the firemen of Ladder Engine Company No. 10, the department closest to Ground Zero. A bronze memorial sits outside their station and reads, "Dedicated to those who fell and those who carry on." Clearly, that was a day that changed the lives of many, changing the face of our military right along with it. For most of us, it was the first time witnessing a terrorist attack on U.S. soil. Many joined the military because of what happened that day. Many more rethought what it meant to be an American and enjoy the freedoms we have taken for granted for so long. But in the words of President George W. Bush, these acts shattered steel, but couldn't bend the steel of American resolve. Days later, I attended the National Commander's testimony before the Senate and House Committees on Veterans Affairs, where jobless veterans and claims backlogs were among the topics in his address. Following his testimony, the National Commander invited me to join him in meeting with senators on Capitol Hill to further discuss veterans issues, specifically to discuss the VA budget and ask that they not make cuts to the veterans' benefits. As I left Washington, D.C., I was really starting to feel the true momentum of the Legion family at work. Already, from Minneapolis to New York to D.C., great works were taking place by the American Legion families. As the commander remained in D.C., I headed to my next department visit in California, where I visited Naomi House, my first visit to transitional housing for homeless veterans. Naomi House specifically serves women veterans. I visited several transitional homes throughout my year as National President, including Henderson House, another transitional living center for homeless women veterans. Different, in that it welcomed dependent children. Our members need to spread the word that it is a safe place to go to these facilities. In Maine, at the junior department meeting, the girls dressed up like homeless women, even utilizing a shopping cart to raise awareness and funds for the homeless in their state. I have been very impressed with our junior members. In Nevada, because of limited funds, they held a virtual slumber party where juniors across the state could participate in the same activities. In New Hampshire, 2 young juniors taught me how to make a poppy in front of local media. The publicity generated from this event helped demonstrate how the poppy program goes full circle, with poppies being made by veterans, purchased by units, distributed by members, and the funds going right back to veterans. During our President and Secretary training, we focused on generational differences and communication styles of members, which offered some important reminders about appreciating those differences and learning from them. On every department visit, I asked each unit to seek out service projects that would be impactful and meaningful to our younger generation, so they would feel their membership is valuable. One of our auxiliary signature programs is the National Veterans Creative Arts Festival. This year, I met some amazing and talented veterans and witnessed the healing power of the arts.
That tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow, till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, oh, tomorrow.
I also attended several local competitions and heard the veteran stories of how and why their art was created. In November, I attended a moving Veterans Day memorial in Washington, D.C., where we placed wreaths to honor all of our veterans. The day was 11-11-11, which made the day extra memorable. During this visit, our D.C. director, Bob Reig, and I also met with the Corporation for National Community Service, who funds our AmeriCorps and VISTA programs, which this year topped the $3 million in human resources donation. My husband Terry and I then departed on a Far East tour to join Commander Wong and his wife Barbara on a goodwill and morale tour. In South Korea, we visited Osan Air Force Base and Camp Humphrey. The Korean American Friendship Association hosted a dinner for 300 soldiers unaccompanied by their families. Later that week, we met with the staff of the American Embassy, where we were briefed on the relationship between Korea and the United States. On Thanksgiving Day, we visited the DMZ zone, though the highlight of the day was serving Thanksgiving dinner to the troops stationed there. From Korea, we flew to Okinawa, where we toured Kadena Air Force Base and were briefed on the Pacific operations. In Taiwan, we met with President Ma Jing-jin, who discussed the relationship between our countries going back as far as World War II with the Flying Dragons. One of the most moving moments in Taiwan was a visit to the POW Memorial. I learned there were 8 Japanese POW camps in Taiwan during World War II. We visited a camp museum where the visiting school children were eager to meet us. The Taiwan government also flew us to Kinmen Island, a 150 square kilometer island that is strategic to Taiwan's defense. As recent as 1974, the U.S. sent artillery to assist Taiwan in protecting the island from mainland China. From there, we went to the island of Guam, where we visited the U.S. Naval Base, the Naval Facilities Engineering Command, and the War Dog Cemetery. In Hawaii, we visited Hickam Air Force Base and met with the commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. We visited the Punch Bowl, a beautiful cemetery and a wonderful place to honor the service of America's fallen heroes. White wreaths were placed on the graves of more than 2,000 unknown fallen heroes by local Boy Scouts. At the 70th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, we placed wreaths on behalf of the American Legion family. I was honored to meet Albert Thomas, a Pearl Harbor survivor who went on to serve in 5 countries in the 5th Army under General Patton. On December 9th, we were humbled to take part in a repatriation ceremony where 6 sets of remains were returned to the U.S. for identification, 3 from World War II and 3 from Vietnam. When visiting Puerto Rico in January, I encouraged American Legion family to work together to build their membership, working as a family. They were the first department to reach their 100% numeric objective. Throughout the year, I visited many hospitals, clinics, transitional and community living centers, including the new VA Southeast Primary Clinic in Henderson, Nevada, which had opened in 2010. I enjoyed a wonderful tour and was pleased to meet a number of our VA/VS volunteers. In Virginia, National Vice President Peggy Thomas and I toured the McGuire VA Hospital in Richmond, one of the largest in the country. It's the only VA in the country that performs in-house heart transplants. And I was lucky enough to meet one of the heart recipients while I was there. He just happened to be a proud Legionnaire. I also visited the Liver and Kidney VA Transplant Center in Washington, where members of the Departments of Washington and Oregon cooked and served a picnic lunch to residents awaiting or recovering from a transplant. These departments each donate $400 per month to keep the kitchen stocked at these facilities. The Arizona stand-down was one of my most rewarding experiences. I enjoyed spending the day with amazing Legion family volunteers and a veteran named James, who was very appreciative to learn about the services that were offered to him. He left excited knowing he would soon have a job and permanent housing. Later in the day, we visited the National Memorial Cemetery of Arizona. Throughout my travels, I was fortunate to visit numerous cemeteries and was honored to place 14 wreaths in remembrance. At the Washington, D.C. conference, nearly 50 department contingents visited congressional representatives or a member of their staff to discuss the American Legion legislative priorities prior to the 112th Congress in 2012. In preparation for their visit to Capitol Hill, conference attendees were briefed on key legislative issues. That week, I had the honor of presenting the American Legion Auxiliary Public Spirit Award to Colonel Jill Chambers of This Able Vet and Michael Peterson of Tag You're It. The work done by Colonel Chambers and Michael Peterson is perfectly aligned with our mission of serving veterans, active duty military, and their families. In June, I had the privilege of commemorating the 68th anniversary of D-Day, along with Legion National Commander Fang Wang. We were honored to attend the annual Association des Amis des Américains banquet in St. Mary-Glace, the first town liberated by the U.S. Allied invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944. We attended a ceremony at the Airborne Museum where 35 U.S. D-Day veterans were honored. Cadets from the Air Force Academy spent the week as escorts for those 35 veterans, our American heroes. One of the highlights of the trip was a reenactment of the paratroopers landing performed by U.S. military and 4 other countries. Commander Wang and I were proud to raise the flag over the American cemetery prior to a wreath-laying ceremony on June 6 at Normandy Beach. It was a day I will never forget. More than 9,000 American soldiers are laid to rest there. It felt like their spirits are with us. Representing our organization in the Far East and Europe gave me a great knowledge of how very much we are respected across the globe and how much foreign citizens appreciate our veterans and military for continuing to protect the freedoms and liberate not only the United States, but global communities. I started my summer with a bang, attending several department conventions, including the Department of Kentucky. While there, I visited Kentucky's Healing Field in Lawrenceburg. The Healing Field honors Kentucky's fallen heroes who served and lost their lives in the War on Terror. There are now 110 flags in memory of Kentucky soldiers who lost their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan. This was especially meaningful to me as the department received a national award for this when I was Americanism chairman. I have personally been involved in Girls State for more than 25 years. This year I attended Badger Girls State in Wisconsin, where Governor Scott Walker addressed the 736 girls in attendance. And I was blown away by the longtime volunteer who in her 90s can still excite the crowd. I also attended Louisiana Girls State, where I enjoyed listening to the Nats and the Feds speeches and taking in the girls' heartfelt enthusiasm. Of course, they let me also get in on the fun, participating in one of their skits. The girls also made a generous donation to Operation Military Kids. In July, I joined our 98 Girls Nation senators, volunteers, and staff members at Bethesda Hospital for a picnic to honor the true faces of freedom. What an unforgettable experience. While visiting several military bases, I was proud to witness the dedication of our young men and women in uniform. In South Carolina, I spent the day with new recruits on their third day of basic training at Fort Jackson. After witnessing their grueling schedule, I left with a true appreciation that my husband is the veteran and not me. While in Bangor, Maine, 148 troops came home from Iraq. It was one of the proudest and most emotional moments of my year, shaking each of their hands and welcoming them home. Over 1.4 million soldiers have come through Bangor, Maine on their return to the United States, and there have always been American Legion family members there to welcome them home, no matter what time of day or night. While visiting Wisconsin, I witnessed an amazing example of volunteerism. The Camel Quilt Project began with a simple need from a soldier headed for Iraq who asked his mother-in-law to make a quilt. This simple act of kindness of one quilt has turned into a major volunteer opportunity, creating over 17,000 camel quilts for all branches of the military. Another visit I will never forget was to Landstuhl, Germany. When we arrived, ambulances were speeding in with wounded soldiers back from Afghanistan. Even with their devastating injuries, their biggest concern was who was taking care of their families. I immediately gave 2 of them my card and said, "The American Legion Auxiliary will take care of your family. I will personally see to it." I have never been more proud of being part of an organization that supports these heroes. Again, our faces of freedom. Another signature program, Children and Youth, awards members the opportunity to support these soldiers' children, filling hero packs and family packs, encouraging open communications between soldiers, both while deployed and returning home. The American Legion invited me to experience junior shooting sports competition, as well as the American Legion World Series, where our youth heroes really shine. As a family, we have accomplished some remarkable things this year to honor the service of our veterans. Our spirit of service, not self, is alive and well, and our members diligently worked our programs, inviting community members to join them, mentoring junior members, supporting our veterans, serving at VA hospitals and clinics, contributing thousands of volunteer hours, as field service and home service volunteers, embracing the needs of our active military and their families. To accomplish these tasks and better fulfill our mission, we conducted 5 mission trainings across the country, encouraging our members to seek out service projects. It truly has been an amazing year. We worked hard, but we also had a lot of fun. As I end my term, I leave inspired by the service we continue to give, humbled by the opportunity that you all gave to me, thankful to our veterans and military who continue to give back to our nation to protect our freedom, concerned about the continual decrease in membership, energized that thousands of members have embraced our mission and will continue to seek service opportunities, ready to go back home with Terry, eager to spend more time with my family, waiting for the hugs and kisses of my grandchildren. I am proud of our accomplishments. It has truly been an honor to serve as your national president and honor the service of those who have served us in preserving and protecting our nation's freedom. As of July 1st, 2012, 2,028 men and women have died serving in Operation Enduring Freedom. In total, 16,842 were wounded in action. 4,409 have died defending Operation Iraqi Freedom. 31,926 young Americans have been wounded in action. The need for our veterans' benefits and the work of the American Legion Auxiliary has never been greater. So as I end my year as National President, I know there is much work left to do. I am confident that this organization is in capable hands as I pass the torch to my friend and your future leader, Peggy Thomas. May she carry that torch with pride, honor, and humility, and may she enjoy it as much as I have. Our organization is in good hands with the future leadership. They are compassionate and dedicated. Thank you all for this opportunity. God bless each of you. God bless our veterans. God bless our military. And may God continue to bless America.